So when I took this for a test drive, I found my steering was a bit wonky. And you can see right now. That's getting close to a quarter turn before anything's happening in the steering gearbox. I'd ensure the upper and the lower bearing was preloaded. So when you are turning the wheel, the worm gear inside is actually crawling up and down the pitman arm gear. And here's the proof. Steering wheel almost touching, and you turn. So what I need to do is to take apart that gearbox and find out what I need to re-shim everything. What I suspect is here's the actual body, here's the end cap, and there's this plate in here. That was corroded to shit. I'm pretty sure there was areas so thin you could actually see, and there was holes there. Yeah. So I'm going to take it apart, going to possibly have to replace that, and then maybe find shims to make sure that the preload is done properly. Okay, so for giggles, I'm going to loosen all these bolts off. I'm going to place this metal piece in here because I know this is flat and true, and hopefully that's going to push the lower bearing seat up into location. If that's able to push it up, I turn the steering wheel and that shaft doesn't move anymore, then I know that this plate is the problem, and then I can go do some manufacturing versus taking it all apart and trying to play around with it. This is just going to be a simple toss it and see what happens. All right, so what I've done is taken a washer, shoved it in to push up against that bearing race. Don't mind the knocking. Then I retightened it up and pushed that bearing race up, and I don't have that walking anymore. So now I got to come up with, can I get this thinner, or do I have to get shims, or really thick gasket material? Yes, I could do that. So I could take up all that space with the gasket material, and everything would be perfect. Yeah, we'll do that instead. And the bonus, the gasket will center the washer to keep it from slapping around when we put it back together. And everything should go in and shim up nicely. And plate. Spacer plate. Gasket / shim washer. Now we'll see if the plate is gone or still there. So there we have it. When I actually turn the wheel, it's a little hard to see, but the wheel starts to turn, so I don't have play anymore. Welcome to the shenanigans. So we're gonna start working on this piece again. So what we have to do is start putting all of the panels around the driver and passenger footwell / firewall doghouse area. Basically everything that will caselate that engine and hopefully prevent you from getting covered in oil and such. So the trouble with these is you have the main hoop and then everything bolts to it. There are some captured nuts and some self-tapped areas. There's an immense amount of areas that aren't, so you're going to see me cursing and swearing, trying to hold nuts in weird, awkward positions to try to bolt this thing together. We've already got a bit of a start. We have the inner fender on. And also, a little hard to see, we have the footwell. Footwell, it goes around the pedals and the throttle. Fortunately for the driver's side, it's in two pieces because, you know, getting pedals in and out. So what else we have to put in is the other portion for the pedals. This is the upper. Doghouse, this goes around the engine. This is part of the door post that goes onto the hoop that this side panel bolts to, and this goes over top of the steering column, filling the roof inside section of the area for your feet. I still have to put more bolts in. I have more stuff to attach because bolts have to go through to this panel when you bolt the actual fender or inner fender up better here. And then there's other panels that go here, and you have an exterior panel goes here. So there is part, the section going around the driver. Yes, very little room. Sorry for the bad lighting. So, passenger and driver's side panels are all put in and closed. Panel gap's not the greatest, as you can see here. But then again, they were just trying to build these in the thousands and get them put out the door quickly. So, it's an army truck. It's not supposed to be perfect. But we'll go from there. The other plan is I'll probably end up doing is put sound deadening on these panels a little bit because, it's loud. So I'll do what I can because yes, I already have some here, but this is also for the heat deflection. Now the other interesting fact is when I was trying to put these panels in, this panel wouldn't line up properly because of that oil filter. That's the problem with trying to modify a vehicle, because this is the 1950s 8BA engine instead of the original 1940s. So the original 40s engine didn't have the oil filter. So I have a remote oil filter kit showing up for this soon enough. And the next modification I have to do involves the oil fill, because again, different engines, different setups. I'll show you what I mean. On the 1950s engine, this is where you fill the oil, this tube, to the intake manifold. Now, as you can see, I had a fitment issue. So what I have to do is take it back to where the fuel pump comes up through. We get a flat plate, attach an upright tube, and then that tube will come out to about here-ish area. For better visualization, like so. Now that I have the interior body panels on, I am going to have to start running all the wiring. Well, this is going to be interesting because I'm using 80-year-old wiring harness, which would still be good because at the time in 1904 they were still using copper to make the wiring. If it was the 44, 45 trucks, it would be steel wire, and those were known to rust and corrode and cause havoc. So yes, it's probably not the greatest idea to use a new old stock wiring harness, but the amount I'm going to drive this thing, I'll throw in a couple extra circuit breakers or fuses just to ensure that it doesn't want to burn to the ground. After all of the wiring is done, then I'll put fenders on the other exterior parts, my brand new aluminum rad, and finish closing in this nose section, and then start working back to get the back of the cab, the upper cab, the windshield, and the doors on. Once that's done, then hopefully I can get the fuel tanks mounted, the storage bin, and the cargo box that's been built and waiting to go on this side. I did say I was also going to test drive this thing, but I don't know if you can see it out there. It's 80-kilometer gust of winds and raining. I don't have a windshield, and I forgot my rain jacket, so I'm not driving this in bad weather. Hey, I'm allowed to get away with that, all right. We'll see what December brings when I'll be down working on this again. Maybe it'll be warm enough that, or I'll be crazy enough to go for a test drive.